Even on the day after Josh Allen beat the big bad Detroit Lions, I'm still going to say Lamar Jackson is the MVP, and I'll talk about it today here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On NFL, and we thank you for making us your first listen. We'd like to welcome you in. You get a double dose of the NFL's biggest stories with the help of local experts that know your favorite teams like no one else. I'm the barber, Tony Wiggins, joined today by Locked On NFL expert Julian Council, and he will help me go through some of these things with you today. Monday Night Football double dose. I don't think any of the games meet a hill of beans towards the playoffs, but we'll still discuss those along with some of the action from Sunday. Bills make a statement. They absolutely did make a statement that they can play and win a big game. And then Lamar Jackson should be the MVP. That's where we're going to start today. And I know everybody's going to kill me, but oh well, we'll get to that. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by FanDuel. That's right, man. You can start the season or start the end of the season towards the playoffs with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Also, make sure you check on Locked On NFL over on Amazon Music. We are over on Amazon Music. Make sure you go over there for your listening pleasure and enjoyment. All right, Julian Council. I'm gonna be controversial today, and it's not really controversial. They say numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the whole story, right? Well, there's a race between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen that everyone has conceded and given to Josh Allen because, for one reason, he's a very, very good player and he's playing lights out. But I don't think the MVP is a team award, but I kind of get the feeling that's where this is headed.
Yeah, well, I think that's how it always has been, at least recently, where it's not necessarily a team award, it's a quarterback award. And who's the best quarterback on the best team? That's how you were able to win it. I would disagree, though. There's not a race, according to our friends over at FanDuel, because right now Josh Allen is minus 900 to win the MVP, while Lamar Jackson is at plus 750, seemingly right now a long shot with 3 weeks left in the season.
Yeah, I know it, man. So one of my pet peeves, I'm going to listen to Kevin Ostrach and tell you just how dynamic Lamar was yesterday. But one of my pet peeves is the whole, I know you see it on social media, it says one got to go. Like they'll put 4 GOATs up, 4 people that are like Mount Rushmore, and okay, one got to go. So what happens is you start finding the person whose credentials you are actually going to diminish. But the fact that they're even in the poll says that there's nothing to be diminished about them being there. But that's what's going to happen now. It's going to be, I'm going to prove my side by talking bad about the other side. So listen to Kevin Ostrach. It'll tell you how good Lamar Jackson was, and then I'll run some raw numbers by you about his projected stats that will blow your mind.
Baltimore Ravens defeat the New York Giants in dominating fashion in Week 15. I'm Kevin Ostracker, the host of Locked On Ravens. Baltimore wins 35-14 behind Lamar Jackson with another MVP-like performance. So Jackson five passing touchdowns for Lamar in this game. Rashad Bateman caught 2 of those, his first multi-touchdown game of his career. And the Ravens defense held Tommy DeVito, Tim Boyle, and whatever else the Giants had on offense to not a lot of success. And now Baltimore heads into a huge Week 16 match with the Pittsburgh Steelers that could decide the AFC North Division. For more on the Ravens and their big Week 15 win against the Giants, be sure to check out the Locked On Ravens podcast and subscribe on YouTube, part of Locked On Podcast Network.
Lamar Jackson is projected in a 17-game season to throw. This blew my mind, man. His numbers this year are obviously way better than last year's numbers. He's on pace to throw for 4,300 yards, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and the dude has over 700 yards rushing. He's actually better than he was when he won any of those 2 other MVPs. And I know that ain't Josh Allen's fault that his team is winning and doing, but it's almost getting a feeling like we got to all have groupthink. I think Emmanuel Acho said we should all come to the conclusion that we ain't got to all come to nothing.
Right.
I'm just telling you why does everybody need a whole bunch of people to go with them when they want to say something? You know what I'm saying?
No one wants to be out on an island sometimes, because a lot of people are going to be throwing stones at you if you do that. And social media, it's fierce nowadays. People take that stuff way too seriously. So I can understand not wanting to have a controversial opinion, and I'll put that in air quotes for the folks not watching here on YouTube. Yeah, man, I don't know if this is the right Sunday for you to say this, considering what Buffalo did to Detroit, and for the second week in a row, Josh Allen at offense putting up numbers. I think it's one of the situations like what happened in the NBA last year, where like clearly not Luka, but what's your man? Yeah. Nikola Jokic. I don't watch the NBA anymore, but Nikola Jokic, he's out here 2 years in a row winning the MVP. Denver, one of the best teams again. He's out here cooking folks. But there's like that fatigue. Let's go find somebody else to give the award to. And they gave it to Joel Embiid, even though we know once playoffs come around, he's not going to be healthy. Philadelphia's not going anywhere. And if you look at what the Sixers are doing this year, I just look at the standings. Well, is that really the best player in the NBA last year and this year? So a little bit different, obviously, in the NFL, as Lamar's out here doing his thing yet again. But there is probably the fatigue and just the appetite to give it to somebody else like Josh Allen, who in his own right has been an outstanding player throughout not throughout his career, but really since that third year, he's turned out to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks on an annual basis. So, yeah, Lamar is outstanding. I still love him. You can feel that way, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. The Jackson 5, love how Kevin Osterka said that. It's just not going to end up being Lamar Jackson this year. It's going to be Josh Allen.
No, it's not. It's not going to end up being him, and that's exactly why I did it. And when you said, I told Ross Jackson, we were talking earlier this morning, I said, I'm going to come, and I'm not even a contrarian by nature, but I'm going to come out the day that everybody's giving all of this love to Josh Allen, and I'm going to remind people just how good that other dude in Baltimore really is. And I know this doesn't matter because I think Embiid went head-to-head with Jokic and smoked him one time because he can do that, right?
Yeah, right.
I just think that side-by-side game when you saw them both, and I know it was early in the year, they went against each other, and Baltimore thumped them, and Lamar was clearly the best player on the field. It won't matter because Michael Jordan, if that's the case, he would have won 10 MVPs. I know it doesn't matter.
LeBron probably should have won the MVP every year.
Right. So there you go. But that's all right. We ain't gonna go to Kobe should have the late great Kobe should have had one or two of them too. So we ain't gonna go all into that. But no, you're right. You're right. And the part of it with me though is where everyone thinks that it's some foregone conclusion just because of how it feels. I don't think that's doing a service to Lamar. I don't think it's doing a service to Josh. I don't think there's some great ulterior motive behind it that we don't have to make it ugly. But I tell you what, there is this perception, and this is what bothers me. I was actually called a Lamar Jackson apologist by a friend of mine while he was playing this way. And it's like, there's nothing to apologize about. Are you watching the same thing that I'm watching? At some point, it's not being an apologist. It's not being a homer because he's a Florida kid. It's just saying 40 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
No, he's a dog. We all understand that. I think it comes down to this. It's the playoff performances. Now, the MVP is for regular season performance, and we can debate whether the award should be handed out at the end of the season once everything is said and done, playoffs, Super Bowl, and all that. But if you want to hold him to what he's not been able to do in the playoffs, then okay, that's cool, but that's not what the award is for. It's for the regular season. And yes, he has been one of the most valuable players and maybe is the most valuable player in the NFL this season. But you look at what Josh Allen did on Sunday again and what he's been doing the last couple of weeks, and also taking into account that Lamar's already won this twice and how people have been trying for years to give Josh Allen the MVP. See? I mean, that's why it's a foregone conclusion.
See what you just did? You proved my point for me. And what that is it's an annual award based on this season, but you just named a whole bunch of stuff that's like that's a very macro approach to it. People want to give it to him. People have fatigue. They've been trying to give it to, and that's what I'm saying.
It's human beings making these decisions, and we can never forget that.
That's right. Human beings making the decision, and there's a human being standing right here on Locked On NFL. And sometimes we make dumb decisions or for wrong, but. I'm not going to diminish Josh Allen at all. Shout out to the Bills. They had a great win yesterday. In fact, we're going to talk about them here in just a second because they did something very, very important, and they made a statement. And what that was on the road. I don't want to hear about injuries because we were giving Detroit credit for injuries before. What they did was is say, I don't believe groupthink. I'm going to go on the road. I'm going to go to Detroit. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to punch them right in the face. And that's exactly what they did all day. So the non-group think is what got them that game yesterday because they've been thinking what everybody else was thinking. They would have walked in there going, woe is me. We ain't supposed to win this game on the road, but that is not what happened. We'll talk about the Bills, the Eagles, the Chiefs, and more in just a second here on a Monday edition of Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is therapy for people who need it. Sometimes you don't know that you need it, but there are times during the holiday season and times like this where it makes you miss people, makes you have memories, or if you're not feeling well, man, it'll really, really make you feel sad because these are happy times, but for people who are struggling, it's not so happy. If you're thinking about considering therapy, make sure you tap into BetterHelp. If you want to stay, whether it's about pain management, how to cope with pain management, how to deal with death in the family, how to deal with just time management, trying to make sure you can spend the time with your loved one that you need. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's online, entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Find comfort this December and this holiday season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Y'all know what time it is, man. It is that time. That's right. College football. The playoff is back, and it's here. It's bigger than ever. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern. Leading into our first matchup, SMU, Southern Methodist. The Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. All right, moving along here on Locked On NFL with Julian Council, the NFL expert and host of the day here on Locked On. We just talked about the lead teams, the playoff teams, right? We talked about the MVP, mainly Josh Allen and what he did yesterday and what was so impressive.
Yeah,
I'm not going to allow injuries to play into this because they came out from the very beginning of that game yesterday. And they did what a lot of teams who have played those same wounded Detroit Lions were unable to do. And that is not get bullied, not get pushed around. And I have to say, though, the Lions at some point, man, that next man up, it is being challenged mightily. And it got even worse. Here's Matt Derry real quick, and I'll get your opinion on it with the Lions moving forward.
Lions get pushed around at home today by the Bills and another major injury. Dan Campbell just said in his post-game press conference, Aleem McNeil could be done for the year. I got a text from the inside that said the same thing. Sometimes attrition, sometimes the best ability is your availability, and the Lions have no available defenders left.
I ain't never seen nothing like it, Julian. I've never, ever, to this point, I give them credit for this point. To this point, I've never seen a team lose this many people and still be good. But at some point, it runs out.
Yeah, and that may be happening right now, and I am very concerned about the Detroit Lions in the final couple weeks of the season. They got Chicago next week. That should be a win. They have at San Francisco, who is still right there in the thick of things in the NFC West, and for the wild card, then potentially Sunday Night Football, final game of the year, Minnesota for the division title. And the Vikings tonight playing Chicago, and they're in position to come back and steal this division from a team that has dominated the NFL all season long. And you look at it, like Adam Schefter put that out this morning, where Yes, you brought up there, Matt did. Aleem McNeil tore his ACL, so he's done for the season. Carlton Davis broke his jaw. I don't know when he's coming back with a broken jaw. Like, my God, man. So that's Aleem McNeil is out. Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, John Kaminsky, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes, Jalen Reeves-Maven, Carlton Davis, Ennis Rakestraw Jr., Emmanuel Mosley, and Efetu Malafanu. This is what I said a couple weeks ago, too. This is the best team in the NFL when healthy. And I was hoping they could stay healthy because you don't want to see a team this talented, this well coached, and just this fun to watch just destroyed due to injuries and the attrition of a season. And that's where we are right now. Jared Goff threw for nearly 500 yards yesterday, and they still lost that game because they could not get a stop because Buffalo, obviously, fantastic in their own right offensively, what Josh Allen's doing on his way to likely being the MVP this season. It's not necessarily heartbreaking to me, but it really sucks as a football fan that we are not going to get to see Detroit at top capacity or even near that potentially moving forward because of some of these injuries, not some of all these injuries they face on the defensive side of the ball.
See, it is a gladiator sport and there is attrition, but that sympathy that you have is real, and I have it too. It's because overcoming injuries is a part of it. They've done that. And then they did it again. And then again. And this is to the point where it's like, okay, come on, man. It's not like a guy's hurt here or that. You just basically named off probably an entire depth chart. That's an entire unit, or at least
no, it is because that's 4 defensive linemen, that's 4 linebackers, that's 3 corners and a safety. So that's a full defense right there.
A full defense over there in sweatpants and wrapped up in bubble wrap. I mean, come on, man. I mean, at some point we do have to acknowledge that. All right, man. We got to give Detroit some grace here. And I'm going to say that Dan Campbell is the coach of the year because of the job that he's done with all of those injuries. And they haven't cried about it. They haven't whined about it. They haven't made excuses in their play. And then they put up another valiant effort, albeit too late yesterday. Something else happened with another contender, another team that's lurking. It's going to be a little tough for them. Philadelphia. Last week, all the talk was A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And, well, guess what happened yesterday? They lose Saquon Barkley for a little bit. He gets banged up. But guess what? A.J. Brown caught a touchdown, and Jalen Hurts had to win a game against a real good team with his arm. Check this out from my man, Louie.
Well, turns out the Philadelphia Eagles can, in fact, win because of the passing game, and they did it today against an elite Pittsburgh Steelers defense to win 27-13. 10 straight wins, a franchise record. I'm Louie DiBiase, host of the Locked On Eagles podcast. This Eagles team, it's like they knew every single problem they had to correct this week, and they fixed it perfectly. That was a coaching masterclass from Kellen Moore, getting the tempo going early, forcing the ball to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, a pass-heavy game script, got this passing game in a rhythm early, and it continued for 4 quarters. Jalen Hurts, 25 of 32, 290 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown had over 100 yards and a score. Jalen Hurts, when you back this guy into a corner, that's when he plays his best football. He was surgical. That's the right word today, surgical. And they needed that game to know they can win because of the pass heading into the playoffs. Let's go get that 1 seed.
All right, so he did it one time. Is that enough to say that he's surgical and that all of your doubts should be going away, JC?
I've never had doubts about the Eagles passing game. I just found it to be silly that last week after beating the Panthers just barely, that A.J. Brown is out there pouting in the locker room after winning 9 straight games. Like, dog, the Panthers have the worst run defense in the league. You have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. Why would you throw the football in that game? They ran for 200 yards. And that just goes to say, man, like a lot of these dudes would rather have the 8 for 110 and a tutty and be 4-13 and lose every week than go out there, have 2 receptions for like 15 yards and win all these games. It's just like, they're so damn dramatic. Like, relax, dude. Like, your team is good. You're right now probably with the Detroit injuries favored to be the 1 seed, and no one's going to Philly and beating you in these games. Like, you're Super Bowl bound for the second time in 3 years if you get the 1 seed. So it's just like, it's insane to me. Pittsburgh's obviously not going to let you run on them like Carolina would. So yeah, you had to mix things up. And I'm not surprised that they can throw the ball because they have A.J. Brown, they have Devontae Smith, and we have seen what Jalen Hurts is capable of in the past. I remember the Super Bowl. I know the dude can put it on the big stage. So I just need A.J. Brown to relax, man. It's going to be okay. You're going to get your touches, and you're going to win some games. Just like, bro, come on, dog.
Just chill, right? Just chill, right? I mean, there's a lot of guys that put up numbers every single week that are pouting because they're not going to be playing in January and December. So to that point, AJ, man, you got your money. Everybody knows how good you are. Just chill, just vibe. That's what the young cats say. Just vibe, right? I tell you, ain't no vibing right now in KC because they won, but they might be on their way to running out of miracles. I don't think a whole bunch of people gonna feel sorry for them. I will, because I don't like guys getting hurt. If you want to beat them fair and square. But look, here's my man Chris Clark with Locked On Chiefs talking about Patrick Mahomes.
Kansas City Chiefs moved to 13-1 on the season. The question is, what did it cost them? Patrick Mahomes has an ankle injury. We do not know a lot about it right now. We do know that it is a negative on x-ray, so he did not break his ankle, which we kind of figured with the way things were going. He was walking on it. He wasn't being moved on a cart or anything on the field anyway. He did take a cart to get an x-ray. So the question is he going to be available for the game against Houston that will be coming up on Saturday, and then again the next game against the Steelers on Christmas Day? Big questions there, but Kansas City moves to 13-1 on the season. They beat the Cleveland Browns 21-7. This game really wasn't close, and it shouldn't have been as close as it was. The Browns turned the ball over 6 different times, had a bunch of picks that they threw in this game. Kansas City finally had a comfortable win, something that they haven't had much this season. There's much more to talk about on Locked On Chiefs.
I don't think people need to be celebrating guys getting hurt, but there's a lot of people that's like, okay, we're sick of y'all. What can y'all do now with Mahomes and them not being, like you say, people get fatigued, don't they, Julian?
Yeah, they do. And the Chiefs been getting away with it all season long. And I'm not going to sit here and like believe that this is going to be the death knell for the Kansas City Chiefs. Didn't Mahomes dislocate his kneecap one year and they won a Super Bowl? Like, he has an ankle injury, it seems like every single year. So this is just par for the course to me. Now, it does open up the door for Buffalo, who is 2 games back, but has the tiebreaker, because KC, as he just mentioned there, has the Texans, at the Steelers, at the Broncos. Now, Houston, I don't think they really have anything to play for. Like, they're going to be the 4 seed at this point in time. Obviously, Pittsburgh trying to win the division, so they're still playing for a lot. The Broncos trying to get into the wild card, but 3 teams still motivated in the final 3 weeks, whereas Buffalo has the Jets and the Pats twice. So they're going to win the rest of their games. At least they should. If they get upset by either one of those teams, that will be a colossal failure that Sunday from Sean McDermott and his staff and Josh Allen and everybody involved. Like, he probably should lose the MVP if they lose any of those teams the final 3 weeks. So for KC, yeah, a little concerning. It's not like they haven't been here before with Mahomes and his injuries, but that schedule is pretty daunting, and it was even before the ankle injury on Sunday.
It was, and it is, and you're right about all of that. It's going to be, I don't think it's going to be anticlimactic going down. See, this is why I was telling Peter Bukowski last week. Peter wants to reformat the playoffs and all of that because all of those teams in that one division in the NFC.
Everybody wants to reformat. It's like, oh, we won all these games. Like, why can't we have a home playoff games? Like, win your division. That's just how it is.
Because people are going to sit up here. It's possible that the Chiefs going to go in there 16-1. I don't think they will, but it's possible, and everybody will cry. They're not.
People always crying, man.
Yeah, they're not the best team.
It's like, it's not fair. What? Come on, just like, seriously.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you something else that's not fair. It's not fair that there's a double dose of Monday Night Football and doesn't have any playoff ramifications, but the Chargers got put back in their place, and the Bucs look like they are on fire right now. There's just 1 week, but Mike Evans being back healthy changes that team a whole bunch. And then we're also going to have a little bit of a goodbye to the whoopsie-daisy. And if y'all listen to this show in Julian Council, you know exactly who and what I'm talking about. We'll discuss that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the rest of the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Rolling along here on Locked On NFL. Here on a Monday, the Chargers and the Bucks. I previewed this game with Matt Williamson on Friday, and we said, you know what, this game is going to be a little bit important. It's like under the radar. It's going to tell us a little bit about where these two physical defensive type teams are. Now, guess what happened? It wasn't defensive for one of those teams because Tampa Bay, man, woke up. That NFC South team we talk about, they woke up and put a little bit of what's happening on the Chargers. Listen to Daniel Wade of Locked On Chargers.
The Chargers looked like they were going to be in a shootout on Sunday, but the offense disappeared again in the second half, and the defense continued to get shredded. This is Daniel Wade here from Locked On Chargers, and the most disappointing part of the 40-17 loss to the Bucks is just getting thoroughly dominated and watching the Chargers offense once again disappear and get shut out in the second half. The fifth time they've gone a half without scoring on their own offensively, as they have no running game, they have no protection, and are asking a limping Justin Herbert to try to carry them, and I just don't think he's physically able to do that right now with the weapons and the protection that he has. The Chargers defense, over 500 yards of offense allowed, over 200 yards allowed on the ground as they got shredded and didn't force a single punt. And this team has a lot to figure out with a gigantic game coming up on Thursday Night Football. And right now, they do not look like a playoff team. But for the full game breakdown, make sure to check out the Locked On Chargers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I get a feeling that they're one of those teams, man, that no matter how much you like fall in love with them, right? The Chargers are going to always, until they get probably another cycle of free agents and draft picks, their deficiencies, no matter how well Harbaugh has them ready to go, their deficiencies show up sometimes, especially when they play good teams.
Yeah, there's a reason why they had to make a change at the head coach position last year. And it's not just because of the coaching. It's always going to be a part of the roster as well. And, you know, you look at it, I think they're still fine. I think it's kind of an overreaction. Tampa's a good team. They won 4 straight games now. The only reason that the NFC South has really been a conversation the last couple of months is because of the injuries that they had. And now that they have Mike Evans back, Baker's looking good, they're going to run away with the NFC South here in the last couple of weeks of the season, where for the Chargers, yeah, they might lose on Thursday, but they then have the Raiders and the Patriots. They're going to get to 10 wins, and that's all they need. They probably need one more because I don't feel confident that Indianapolis, Cincinnati, or any of the teams below them are going to win out the rest of the season and steal the final spot from them or Denver. So, yeah, they're fine. It's not going to be a Super Bowl season. Don't think anybody believed that outside of Locked On Chargers, anyone who's still a Chargers fan. But they'll go to the playoffs. And for this team that had that epic collapse to the Jags a couple years ago, then last year to get there year one with Jim Harbaugh, that is a success. And that is a great building block for them moving forward.
And then you kind of feel like it was kind of done the right way because they had their quarterback. He invested in their infrastructure. He did not make sexy draft picks. I think it's really easy to add wide receivers, and I think it's real easy to go and find, those skill position guys. But I think he's done the hard part early. Now, to the easy part for us, my man Tyler Rowland, the Madman, hosting the AM show here on Locked On NFL. We have been messing with Will Levis all season. And not because he doesn't play well all the time, but it's the manner in which he does it. So now I got a feeling that even with Tyler Rowland putting Will out the pasture, we're going to miss the whoopsie daisies. Listen to Tyler Rowland and his eulogy of the career as the starting quarterback of Will Levis.
The Tennessee Titans got smoked by the Cincinnati Bengals, an embarrassing defeat that is even worse than just one loss. Will Levis is done. It's over now. A lot of Tennessee Titans fans will tell you, well, I knew that. Well, good for you. All right, you were right, and the team failed. And now the Titans potentially have to look for a quarterback in the offseason. It's crazy how these things turn after Levis played such a good month of football, but it has completely unraveled. And the reality is the answer is right in front of the Titans' faces. And do they have the right coach as well? That's a big concern after back-to-back embarrassing losses. We have returned to the dark age, Tennessee Titans fans, and how customary that it would be the Cincinnati Bengals to end whatever this window was for the Tennessee Titans. But a depressing loss that makes Tennessee Titans feel like it's a decade ago. We're back into the dark times. Sorry it has to be this way.
I love my man. I love my Tyler Rowland. That's my little brother. But I know what he did here. Tyler put all that pressure on himself, and Tyler's coming out here with this preemptive strike, trying to act like we ain't gonna talk about Will Levis and the Titans. That's what he's doing. We don't fall for it in a barbershop. You're gonna catch this work anyway. Julian Council, you gonna miss Will?
Yeah, man, the king of whoopsie daisies. Dude is hilarious. And I just love how he's saying now, week 15, it's over. It's been over since week 1, dude. When Tennessee went there to Chicago and dominated, he did that nonsense. And then the next week, he's out here throwing the ball backwards. And you got Callahan saying, what the F are you doing? This man is hilarious, but he's terrible. He was not good at Kentucky. If you watch college football, anybody, he was not good. The only thing about Will Levis that was ever appetizing is his size and his arm and that 1 year of Liam Cohen. Well, he's not Baker Mayfield. He's not a good player, has never been a good player. And if he was looking at Will Levis, he would have gone number 1 overall to Carolina, but he didn't because he's actually not good. And I look at Tennessee and I'm very curious how Amy Adams-Strunk, who's their controlling owner, how she feels about things right now after she fired John Robinson because her feelings were hurt because he traded A.J. Brown away. Even though she could have prevented that move if she wanted to, then Mike Vrabel loses that power struggle. They had a good thing going. Now, John did miss on a decent amount of draft picks, but still built a winner in Tennessee. And Mike, good head coach, and is going to be one of the top head coaches in this upcoming cycle. They're now back to looking like the Bud Adams Tennessee Titans. And Callahan just goes to show you, just because he's there with a winning organization, not even calling plays does not mean that he's going to be a good head coach. So we always love to do, you got to get this hot OC, this hot DC. Are they leaders of men?
And the GM.
You were caught on the sideline saying, what the F are you doing? That does not instill confidence in the quarterback that you were out there talking to. And it also shows that maybe you can't control yourself on the sideline in the manner you should as the head coach of the team. Like, totally fine. You want to talk to him afterwards and say, what are you doing? But that was one of those moments where you think, is he right for this role?
Yep. Leadership looks a certain way. Like, I couldn't do it. I can't be a leader of a football team, but I think I know what it looks like. Look, they got the 3 things wrong. I think they have the coach wrong. I think they have the GM wrong. And I think they have the quarterback wrong. That means that you don't have one of the 3 main components. You need to find the other 2. And that's just a terrible.
It's never been an attractive job either. It hasn't been. I understand people love going to Nashville and getting wasted, but like that's never been an organization that's been well run. Because even when I was there, that's when Amy was able to take over as controlling owner. It was like an episode of Succession before that, with the kids all fighting over the team. And I mean, she got it right at first. And then when you're emotional, look at you. This is what happened.
Yep, that's what happens. What happens here on Locked On NFL is you get us twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Tyler rolling early. The madman hits you up early in the morning and wakes you up, and then you slide by the barbershop and get what you get here. And that's me, Tony Wiggins. Julian Council on Monday. We will see y'all next Monday. Julian, thank you for joining us, man. Have a great week. And you guys know where to find us here on Locked On NFL. Wherever you get your podcast, make sure you check us out. Take care.